Hello, welcome back to Mo and Lave Wargaming. This is War in the Pacific, Admiral's Edition, play-by-email campaign, playing as Japan. We're now setting up the turn for December 17th, 1941. Let's just get right into it, because there's a lot going on this turn. All I really want to say about China is that I'm going to be resting in Hong Kong, bring the fatigue levels down a little bit before attacking again, because I think I'm very close. In the meantime, bombers are going to be drilling their airbase a little bit, trying to get some repairs that they need to take care of before they can build more fortifications. I'll also notice that I'm in a little bit of a foot race with this army unit that's over here. They do have a secondary road that they're using to try to get on the road to Hong Kong. So instead of just sending my spare Canton units over to attack him directly, I'm actually going to race him across. So I'm hoping between the fact that I have a major road compared to his secondary road, and he's going to be hit by airstrikes, and I'm not, means that I'm going to win this race. And when that happens, the loser of this race is going to be the side that ends up having to do a shock attack because of the river crossing. So yeah, I want that to be him and not me. So moving on a little bit over to Burma, some naval activity picking up over here. It's a pretty small search wedge I put up here, but we've got these guys, 4 ships moving east in addition to these 2 task forces. This task force is almost certainly just an ASW patrol. This guy might be something more significant, and this one almost certainly something more significant. When I first started setting up my very first turn, I was looking at how long I thought it would take for starting Allied troop convoys to reach Palembang was actually my main concern, and December 18th was what I came up with, was probably the soonest for the first of them, and Rangoon's a little bit closer, so these might be troop convoys landing and reinforcing. So in case that's what this is, I've moved a few guys over to here, 1 Betty squadron, along with 0 escorts. That's actually the bulk of my zeros in this theater. Maybe a controversial decision. I have a detection level of 9/10 over here on Rangoon, which is very high, and in spite of having this very high detection level, we're not seeing any Allied aircraft being based here. I'm really skeptical of that. I would really think that there would be fighters here, in particular the AVG. I don't know where else the AVG would be. If they're not in China, and we haven't seen them anywhere in China, Rangoon's probably where they'd be. But also, I don't see how I could have 9/10 detection and not see fighters at the airbase. So I'm going to make a play at these guys. I've set the Bettys to naval attack at fairly low altitude since I don't have torpedoes, so it's only going to be bombs, and level bombers are notoriously inaccurate. But I think it's worth a shot, and you know what? If the AVG comes out to play, we'll have the zeros out, and I've mentioned before, low altitude is where the 0 likes to play, so if the AVG wants to get into a low altitude fight with us, hopefully it'll turn out pretty well. Moving a bit down, it does appear that they've pulled their fighters out of Victoria Point, so these tanks aren't going to overrun an airbase. Oh well, no big deal there. What's really significant that's going down here, though, is the amount of success that we had with our sweeps over Singapore that was a major victory. Only showing 16 fighters here. The real number is probably quite a bit higher, but we still weaken them significantly, and a lot of the fighters that are here are going to be down for repairs and maintenance. I mentioned yesterday the Buffalo has a horrible service rating, so a lot of those planes that participated in the sweeps but didn't get shot down, they're going to need some TLC on the ground before they get back up in the air. So it's time to exploit that. And the first thing that we're doing to exploit that is the Bettys and Nels that are over here. I guess it's just Nels. The Nels here in Kotabaru that were range restricted to try to keep them from going to Singapore, that's over. The Zeros that are left here, they'll be enough to provide enough escort for those Nels should they decide to go out and attack someone, that if their target has a cap, the Zeros are going to take care of it. So I'm not too worried about that anymore. And then the other issue would simply be Singapore itself. So, over here we've got 3 squadrons of Oscars. The 1 Alphas are assigned for escort duty. The 1 Bravos and 1 Charlies are going to be sweeping. So we're going to clear the skies from here, from an advanced base, because Kwanton's relatively close, so the sweep should come in first. Behind that, we're going to have Sallies attacking the airbase, coming in at 15,000 feet, so that should be the second package to arrive. The Sallies will hopefully pick up their Oscar 1 Alpha escorts from Kwanton on the way. And then a third wave will be the Nels attacking the Singapore's port as a secondary target if they do not do any naval strikes. And in that event, they will have 0 escorts. They're coming in at 20,000, so it'll take them longer to reach altitude. They should arrive last. So it should be a very orderly, I hope, strike package between all this going on, and hopefully it gets pretty well organized. But the fighters that are left here, honestly, they should be overwhelmed by the sweep, and the bombers should have clear skies after that. So we're looking at 17 ships in port, including submarines. Don't know where Force Z is hiding, so I thought that's still a possibility. So maybe we'll get a hit on them out of it if they're hiding somewhere. We've got these guys, which includes cruisers, so maybe we'll get them, whether that's a naval attack or whether they go into Singapore and dock. Get them one of 2 ways. And then we've got these 57 bombers and 14 likely scout planes on the ground, just waiting for our Sallies to come by and bomb them to smithereens. So overall, just major offensive operations against Singapore this turn. There's a little bit going on up here, but I don't think that's worth talking too much about. I'm a bit concerned with getting this airfield up and running, up at size 4. And Sinka Wing also requires reinforcement. You can see there's enemy units coming in. We need to get back here. And to enable that, we really need to get this covering force back. They were involved in combat last turn. They're out of ammunition. Some of their ships got shot up a bit. So they need to go back to port and rearm. So right now I'm basically just loading up reinforcements, loading up more engineers, but they can't actually go anywhere yet because, we've been burned one too many times over here on the coast. But once they rearm, they'll be headed back to cover those advances. So there's 3 submarines here. I don't really have destroyers available to just go after these guys right now, so it's kind of a compromise solution. I took some Jakes off the seaplane carriers that have docked at Babeldoa, and the Jakes are starting to make their way over here. And unfortunately, there were only 3 that were flyable at that moment, and only 1 operational now after the transfer. But hey, it's enough to get their current patrol areas, and they're likely closing on Minato, so we should probably still have them. In any case, I am putting some distance between the subs and my carriers, so they're disengaging first and then heading back across over to the Celebes. Excuse me. And then hopefully in the Celebes maybe we'll draw some of those airstrikes that had been getting pulled by this surface action task force. Also taking place at Babel Doab, we have 2 separate amphibious groups that are now loading up to reinforce Catabo. So, yeah, that's happening. This garrison situation should be over soon, and we should have these guys reinforced soon. Probably looking at 2 days for that. Was disappointed that I did not get my ordered strike against Batangas last turn. That was both ordered from Carrier Division 2 and from the Bettys and Nels at Takao. Carrier Division 2 is going to remain with orders to do that again. I suspect part of the reason these guys might be sitting around here is that they're expecting the action over in the Rabaul area is going to pull these carriers away, and that's going to allow them to make a run for that. I'm almost tempted to create that scenario and sort of let it happen, because I now have a squadron of Bettys here in Babel Doab and an air HQ to support them. So any of these guys try to escape through the south, they're going to get it. They're going to get it bad. But as long as they're hanging out in these ports, that basically makes them targets. As frustrating as it is as that we're not getting the strikes to happen on a daily basis as ordered, they're going to happen eventually. So Carrier Division 2 is going to remain on station, move around a little bit. Doesn't have a detection level right now, so maybe I don't need to move them. But whatever. We'll be moving them a little bit. And then, as far as dealing with the situation in Luzon goes, Sally's priority target is going to be Clark. We're going to continue to pound this airbase since there are fighters over there flying. Manila and Clark are both going to take sweeps. I'm not too concerned about sweeping Batangas because we don't really have to worry about carrier aircraft leaving without their zeros, so they'll have an escort to take care of them. Naval bombers from Takao, the Nels, are going to be focused on port strike in Manila. And then our light bombers, or actually no, so I have a squadron of Lilies. The Lilies are going after Cantabuan, so they're going to be disrupting these enemy units here so that we don't get overrun while we're trying to hold on with the single division here. And then to deal with these guys, who, by the way, have changed direction. They're now apparently going to try to sprint down this road and get to Gagaro, which would be bad if they get there. This SNLF, these paratroopers, are not going to be able to hold on against them, and then it's just, a little trip down the little road, or taking the long ways on a better road, whichever way they want to go. And then they kind of hit my soft underbelly here. So I'm taking 1 tank regiment from the front line, and they're going to come around through the back and reinforce this group at Tugueguaro, however you pronounce that. In the meantime, these guys are drawing strikes from our light bombers, and then that priority mission is going to change once they hit the open space that's right here. For now, we're just trying to knock them out of move mode and back into combat mode to slow them down so that our tanks win the race to this space. But then once they get here, we're actually going to be going for attrition. So that'll probably be where things like Sally's and Lily's go instead of the light bombers. I think that does it for the Philippines. At Wake, got a few issues going on. One is that Wake is being guarded by 3 submarines, and this little task force that I split off, these destroyers, both of them, do not have depth charges, so they are useless for dealing with these guys. So I've detached a pair of PBs from the amphibious group, and they're going to go ahead and tool around the waters in Wake and see if we can maybe catch these guys in shallow water. Meanwhile, to protect the cruisers in this formation, I've just ordered them to the east. let them stand off a little bit, and we can keep an eye out if there's going to be any more enemy forces arriving. I looked at the numbers as far as attacking here go, and I don't think 100 AV, or even 129, if we want to add the base force onto that, I don't think it's going to be enough, especially if their fort levels have come back up to 1. If their fortifications are back up to 1. I'd rather let this disruption and fatigue come down a little bit. Maybe let these guys reactivate some of these units, since there's so many disabled. And I mean, these guys are basically combat ineffective right now with 46 disruption. We can let them come back a little bit and try again. And then when I do decide to do that, that'll be time for these cruisers to shell wake. Maybe that's not going to do too much, since these guys have already been in combat and used up most of their ammunition. But hey, it might get me some disruption. But in any case, I think going this turn is just a little early. And I guess now is the part we're really interested in, right? So my read on these guys is that it really is very likely that they're going to head south. There's a detection level here on Carrier Division 1. I don't think it's from any scout planes. I just think it's because they attempted to launch an airstrike, and that created a detection level, even though their airstrike failed to locate these ships, which was the apparent target. So they know we're here, and they probably don't want to take us on directly. So trying to get away towards Truck, not a great option. Trying to get away this way, maybe they want to. I don't think that's a great option either. We are hedging in case they do. That's one of the reasons these Bettys are deployed here. We've opened up our search area so that if they are moving through here in the morning, we'll get that scan and we'll pick them up, hopefully, if they're not hiding behind cloud cover. And then if we do detect that movement, then absolutely Carrier Division 2 will come back down. And, speaking of which, since I haven't finished this turn yet, this might be an opportunity to look at Carrier Division 2, look at its fuel state, which is okay but not great, and consider whether one of these task forces can lend him some fuel. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it's a good thing I checked, right? So here we go. Let's take care of that right now. You guys can refuel them, and then head back to Babeldoa. Perfect. So the retreating task forces here are in a bit of a mess. So this is the Mutsu. You can see it has absolutely severe fires. It's not in danger of sinking from flotation, but these fires might not, or the fires might be able to destroy it even if the flotation damage doesn't get that bad. And our other battleship really isn't any better. Oh, it's actually substantially worse. Yeah, enough that it's giving me the option to scuttle it, right? The battleships are basically combat ineffective thanks to those fires. There's really nothing to do with them but try to get them out. I've separated these two task forces just because, just because. I think there's actually a third. That's what I wanted to mention. Okay, so the third escort task force here is split off because its speeds are so much lower that leaving it in one of the other two escort formations would slow those formations down. So they're just trying to get away from the enemy carriers. Meanwhile, I did order these two subs to move west at flank to try to potentially cut this off if the enemy carriers don't want to go through these shallow water hexes. Carrier Division 2 is going to advance straight ahead at standard speed. They're probably going to have to gas up their escorts. That may take up some op points and may reduce their movement. If so, so what? This is really just the the move that's holding them in check and is forcing them to go somewhere. If we don't get an airstrike from these guys, that's fine. Carrier Division 3 is moving towards the likely southern retreat for the enemy. I'm still moving at standard speed. I can't risk running these guys low on fuel in this kind of position. They're kind of out there on their own and potentially vulnerable if they run low. Our replenishment group is getting into the area, but it's not all the way there yet. So basically, if these guys try to retreat, something to keep in mind is that their fuel situation probably isn't all that different from my own. I wouldn't be all that surprised if this move forward causes them to run into the enemy replenishment group that's probably assigned to these guys. But in any case, if they try to go down, we'll have a shot at them. They might be able to slip past us. But if they do slip past us, we've got a really good idea where they are, and that, you know, they're in the Coral Sea, and they're headed south, so they're either going to go over to Sydney or over to Noumea, something like that. So that gives us an opportunity to tank up from the replenishment group and then head south and keep looking for them. Lastly, over at Pearl, we are tightening up the net a little bit, kind of looking to see if I can get away with about 4 hexes in most of these areas. We've still got a lot of subs in line. Not going to let that semi-successful attack by the destroyer last turn intimidate me. And so that's going to do it. We'll see you back at the combat replay. Thanks, guys. And away we go. December 17th, 1941, combat replay. I think I had the sound on too low. Let me make that adjustment. Alright, let's try it now. That sounds better. Damn it. Don't like to see submarines killing destroyers. At least not when they're mine. Maybe we can get him back. We got this guy in shallow water. Come on. Not to be. Wow, and that was an ASW attack in the first place, so that was basically snapshots being fired by the submarine rather than the submarine lining up an attack. Shouldn't happen. But it happens a little bit. So now they're doing night attacks on Quanton. We don't have nearly as many planes crowded in there. Possibly worth putting a nightcap up anyways. They did get 4 hits out of that. Ooh. Oh, why didn't we finish him off? If he doesn't have anyone escorting him, just surface and gun him down. Oh, we just lost the Yamashiro. Gonna guess it just burnt down to the waterline. Alright, got a bombardment going on. I think this is Batangas. Yes, Batangas. Just skip through here. Noticing we are getting several hits on ships here. Alright, let's see what we got. 3 submarines with hits, one of which is noted as having heavy damage, plus a transport on fire, plus an oiler, plus a submarine tender. Not bad, not bad at all. Oh, now we're gonna get attacked in shallow water. Okay, they can't find us either. At least that's fair. Uh-oh. Both battleships. Oh, man. So this incident around Rabaul has now cost us 2 capital ships. That's just great. Damn it. Come on, get away. Alright, we took a damaging near miss, but that's not too serious. Still some enemy ships in the Rabaul area. They're in a position to get hit. Don't know who those... Oh, 2 task forces. Yeah, we don't know who those are yet, but it looks like they're going to get hit. Oh, hello AVG. None other than the AVG has been moved in to defend Singapore. That is an unexpected move. So yeah, we don't have enough zeros to get past 14 of these AVG P40s. Oh, but we have more zeros showing up, so that's good. Just a bit further. I'm not sure how our numbers are increasing on an escort, but I'll take it. Oh, great, now they're through the bombers. Alright, we lost 4 of them. Ooh, the Java. Can we get some hits? No. So that did not go well. Yeah, I didn't see any losses for the enemy. We lost 4 zeros and 4 nils. Raid number 2. Looks like the enemy cap's been worn down quite a bit. Well, if we're seeing them here, that might explain why we haven't seen them at Rangoon. Wonder just how all in that might imply he's going to be for Rangoon or Singapore. So I'm noticing that our sweep didn't hit, even though the sweep really should have arrived first based on the speed of the aircraft and the altitude they were flying at, and the distance they had to fly. The Oscars at Kwanton had the shortest distance. Let's get some hits. I'd have to say AVG versus 1A Oscars. That advantage goes to the AVG. And they get to the bombers again. Alright, just one of them lost. Did not appear to do a whole lot of damage to the airbase. Alright, so one more cell he shot down on the way out, lost one Oscar, and again, despite having 23 fighter aircraft against their 20, we weren't able to shoot anyone down. Oh boy. Unescorted. Well, at least some of them ran off. So this is what happens when the sweeps don't arrive first. Yeah, we're getting slaughtered. This might end up being our worst day in the air yet. Oh, severe storms too. No wonder we're not doing a lot of damage. So I counted 10 Sallies shot down there, so that brings the total for the day to 12. And I still don't think we've shot down any enemy planes yet. This guy's really just softening up an enemy unit since I have to shock attack when I cross that river. Yeah, and there's the sweep, and there's like 3 fighters left. Congratulations, guys. Hooray, we shot down 2. After they already had a free hand to shoot all my bombers down. Hooray! Empty skies! Yeah, looks like the port attack in Hong Kong is actually doing some damage to the shipping. There we go. And we've got airbase and runway hits, so that should keep them from building up too many forts. Potentially 3 ships sunk. Potentially. Well, if they didn't know my carriers were there, they do now. Nowhere else those zeros could be coming from. Yeah, we're bombing somebody. Alright. Finally getting to hurt some important enemy ships. Looks like they're going to lose at least a heavy cruiser. Well, at least a heavy cruiser and a light cruiser. Nice knowing you guys. 2 confirmed sinkings. How far up are these guys? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexes. That's in Kate range, I think. Oh! The carriers, Lexington and Enterprise, never left. Alright, so they're making their strike. Not on our carriers, but on my amphibious task force. And they really are boxed in right now. Now, confirmation that the Enterprise is there, more or less. The Enterprise Squadron VB6 is confirmed there. Another cruiser bites the dust. Not very many Wildcats escorting this group. They seem to be holding a lot back for fleet defense, which is a good move. Clark. Let's get some guys. Turn this air situation around for the day. There we go. Yeah, get some. Come on, keep sending planes up. Send more up. There we go, yeah. P-39's reinforcing. That's fine, we got some ammo for you too. Oh, and most of them disappeared already, what the hell. And they're back. The numbers just keep going up and down. Come on, stop trying to hit him and hit him. So long. The way our shots from behind keep getting interrupted by their gunfire suggests that we might be getting thatch weaved. Get him. Nice Mulligan. Alright, I don't think we lost anyone. Yeah. No losses for us. 6 P-40s and 4 P-39s by my count. Yeah. Evens us up a little bit after a bad day over Singapore. Alright, hits on 2 subs. And a third and a fourth. It's nice when we finally get these port strikes. Look at that. 2 submarines confirmed sunk, a third with heavy damage. Not bad at all. Hitting this unit that poses a direct threat to the division I landed behind enemy lines. 7 combat squads disabled. I'll take it. Ha! Yeah, not much else these Wildcats can do. I shouldn't laugh too much. This may be the first time Zeros and Wildcats are facing off in this campaign. Possibly with the exception of Pearl Harbor. There may have been a few Wildcats in the air. They didn't last very long if they were. We get the better of them. Just one bomber shot down. Well, maybe we'll get another. Nope. Get him. Damn it. Well, we've got his carriers cornered. They stuck around in that little bay. They now have Bettys and Nels guarding their escape to the north. Carrier Division 1 closing in on them to the east, and probably undetected Carrier Division 3 to the south. They're in for a surprise next turn, I sure hope. These guys retreat. Really, we can't destroy these guys? Come on, just surrender. Alright, these numbers are looking way better than they did before. Yeah. Much better. Back up to 138 AV on our side. Almost certainly we'll attack next turn. Yeah, this is just a mess. Well, it'll get better after we sink or chase away the enemy carriers. Clearly have a preference among the two. Be a certain justice to it. My loss of 2 battleships costs him 2 carriers. Alright, gonna do a quick post-turn analysis looking at the results. Up here is a chart of the number of ships and the victory value, or the victory point value of those ships. And this turn was one in which 2 of our battleships succumbed to onboard fires, totaling about like 450, 500 points. So basically, with the sinking of those 2 ships, they sank more victory points worth in ships than we've sunk of theirs in the entire war so far. That's kind of sad. And it kind of goes all the way back to the initial Pearl Harbor attacks with, just 4 carriers instead of 6. And I didn't outright sink any battleships, and as far as I know, none of the battleships of his that I damaged ever sank. And we're seeing that reflected in the victory score. Looking at just our ships sunk this turn, Other than the 2 battleships, the loss of the cruiser is fairly significant, and that's happening in the same area, the Rabaul area, and also caused by carrier battle groups. We also lost this destroyer to an enemy submarine right off the coast of Malaya, and yeah, I believe these other 2 were also members of the amphibious task force that were sunk. We got a little bit of payback. We've got 2 subs that we hadn't caught before. My guess would be that these subs were already damaged, and that's why they were in that base. Otherwise, they would have just been on patrol somewhere. And then Carrier Division 1 takes out 2 enemy cruisers. Air losses for the day. So total, we lost 32 and them 24. We did not do well over Malaya. And that was really all caused by the very late arrival of the sweeps. If the sweeps would have arrived first, between the shoot-downs and enemy aircraft having to come down to rearm, refuel, repair, the bombers would have had a pretty safe trip. But the airstrikes arrived first with escorts, but not enough escorts to make up for the exceptionally heavy cap that they had, in part because at least 1 AVG squadron has been deployed to Singapore. That said, we kind of redeemed ourselves over Luzon. Several P-40 casualties here, so 8 total P-40s shot down, along with 5 more P-39s. So that went our way. So overall, we didn't do too bad, although, bringing this back up on the charts, you can see, the red line isn't higher than the blue line very often on this chart, but it was today, and I don't like to see that. Hopefully we won't see that very much. It's also significant in that this is the first time since the campaign started that the Allies gained victory points, and they gained quite a few. Again, I just didn't get anything anywhere near the value of the battleships that he sank. Alright, looking over the map, situation in China still looks okay at first glance. We managed to hit the port in Hong Kong, did some damage there. Did a little bit of airfield damage, hopefully that's enough to get his fortifications not progressing. Fatigue's low to moderate, disruptions practically 0. Time for an attack. Time for an attack. And maybe this is the one where we finally get him. I think we're at that critical point in Hong Kong where the next one could be the one that takes it. These guys haven't crossed the river yet. Pretty substantial sized unit, 18,000 troops we're seeing. I think we're going to beat them in the race across. Yeah, we're already 2/3 of the way there. So we should get them. Not too much else to say. I can see we've got arrows pointing in all directions here as we begin to branch out to try to hit these guys. We crossed this river, did not get a shock attack. I think maybe the shock attack is induced by the quality of the enemy unit, and so it's not quite as automatic as we thought. Over here, I'm going to have to deal with this guy that's wrapping around the back. Not that big of a deal. We're still closing in on these guys over here, and we had a victory up here. I presume this is the direction he retreated in. This one is a little bit too... Our forces here are a little bit too weak, so we're waiting to bring other guys up, other guys like these armored vehicles. I see we now have air contacts in Rangoon, 2 bombers, 2 auxiliaries, no fighters. So that tends to confirm what we were thinking before, that maybe there really aren't fighters here. We didn't launch any airstrikes, even though we hold a contact. That's a little annoying. But, I mean, if there's not going to be any fighters there, if these guys dock, I've got no problem with hitting them in port. Let's turn on the search areas real quick. Yeah. Let's get them. So there was at least one cruiser spotted around here. Another task force with 2 ships. So that's a target. The Mersing Reserve has moved down to Kwanton along with the escort force. They have been detected. And they are covered. Still don't have our reinforcements in Taiping, so we'll be waiting for them. This covering force has been rearmed. I'll have to consider detaching some of these damaged ships, but we should have sufficient escort to start moving down back into Sarawak again, such as reinforcing this and getting more airfield engineers here to get this up to a level 4 as soon as possible. Got an ASW squadron here. May want to back off of Batavia a little bit. These guys have sustained light damage, but nothing to write home about. Catawba reinforcements are on the way. We're still taking garrison damage there in the meantime. It appears that Tay has been evacuated, although I don't see that we have a detection level there, so that's far from certain. Over here, still many ships reported in port. I think it's a safe bet the game's kind of up. They're gonna probably flee from there like rats. Something to keep an eye open for. And still 12 ships, including a whole bunch of destroyers. Lots of destroyers sitting around here, basically waiting for me to kill them. Fighter numbers look pretty high. Still 29 fighters reported at Clark. We gotta get rid of those guys. And getting rid of those will hopefully open up the way to get more port attacks that are going to be successful. 5 enemy units here. I think that's an increase from before. Number of guns is definitely higher. So yeah, they've been reinforced. So that is going to be a priority bombing target for the next turn. These guys still sitting pretty. They haven't advanced. That's good. I think I see a little arrow in the top corner there. Are they trying to advance at us? It makes sense. It's better off if they fight us in the rough than the clear, unless they have fortifications. That might make a difference. Let's look at Wake. Moderate fatigue. Disruptions getting back to normal. Wow, second SNLF, even with the fatigue and disruption coming down, still has virtually no AV. Yeah, they're in bad shape. But the 144th should be able to carry the day. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to attack. And then we throw in a bombardment from these cruisers, and we should be good to go. Returning to port to replenish. Why? Because you're low on main gun ammo. So what? I want you to get submarines. And, of course, the thing we really care about. I'm not sure why they have a single ship out on their own up here. I guess the tattletale theory I had from last turn might be correct. What's even weirder is that they're well inside detection and strike range from truck, but nobody flew from truck. Speaking of which, So these Nels can get out to 15 with torpedoes. The Bettys can get out to 17 with torpedoes. And the carriers are 20 away. Okay, so that's why we didn't get a strike on the carriers. But why not these guys? And maybe the answer is, oh, well, that's a forecast. That's not what the weather was last turn. Carrier Division 1 is very clearly detected. And they are 9 spaces away. My best strike range with Kates is 9, but that's loaded with bombs. 7 with torpedoes. And thanks to the Pearl Harbor attacks, I actually don't have a full complement of torpedoes, something else I need to keep in mind. Carrier Division 3 is undetected. So here's how I think that means this plays out. He may not know about me having Bettys and Nels and air HQs in these 2 bases, but it's reasonable for him to think that I might. So I don't think he goes this way. But he could. I just don't think he will. Carrier Division 1 is essentially holding him in check. So he has to move. And, so going up, going north puts him back into check. Going south, for all he knows, gets him into safety. Because he doesn't know these guys are here. I mentioned before their max speed movement is probably 18. So here's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. They get down to about here, and that's easily within a day's movement for my carriers. So this may be it. We've been kind of setting this up for a few turns. Heck, we've even got a whole bunch of submarines ready to guard the southern escape path here. And we can even do it from up here. Well, maybe not. I mean, these guys are going to move 9 spaces in a single phase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we might not be able to get much movement out of these guys. But we can try to string them out in a row. Maybe try to guess which ways he might come through the shallows, if that's what he wants to do. Something to think about. We'll definitely set it up as best as I can to maximize my chances, because these guys deserve to die. And with that dark note, we'll go ahead and end it, and I'll see you next for the setup for the December 18th turn. Thanks for watching.